It is now Thursday, November 11, 1915. Einstein is again lecturing at the Prussian Academy, unleashing the full geometrical arsenal now under his command. But the pieces have yet to fully coalesce, and increasingly concerned about claiming the generalized theory as his own, Einstein sends a copy of that presentation to Hilbert. Hilbert's response knocks Einstein back on his heels.
I have a solution to your great problem. I had first wanted to think through the physical implications further, but since you are so interested, I would like to lay out my theory in very great detail this coming Tuesday. That is, the day after tomorrow. You can arrive at 3 or 5:30. My wife and I would be very pleased if you would stay with us. P.S. As far as I understand your new paper, the solutions given by you are entirely different from mine.
Einstein is freaked. He'd been working toward the generalized theory for nearly a decade. He had freely shared all of his thinking that June with Hilbert, and now Hilbert, racing him to the finish line, claims he's figured it all out. The very last thing that Einstein wants to do is go and meet with Hilbert and be lectured on a solution that he himself has almost completed, and possibly have to concede that Hilbert got there first.
Your analysis interests me tremendously. The hints you gave in your postcards awaken the greatest of expectations. Nevertheless, I must refrain from traveling to Göttingen for the moment, and rather must wait patiently until I can study your system from the printed article. For I am tired out and plagued by stomach pains besides.
During the following days, Einstein redoubles his effort, but with a shift in focus. He decides to target a long-standing problem in Newtonian gravity, having to do with the motion of the planet Mercury, realizing that if his new approach could shed light on this problem, it would be enormously convincing. The problem is that Mercury's orbit doesn't quite close on itself the way Newtonian gravity says that it should. Instead, the orbit shifts by a little bit each year, by about 1/10,000th of a degree. That comes to about 43 arc seconds over the course of a century. Now, astronomers had come up with all sorts of strained explanations for this, like the possibility of an undetected planet tugging on Mercury, but none of it was convincing. So Einstein decides to apply the equations he's been developing to Mercury's orbit. And when he finishes the calculation, Einstein stares at the page. The astonishment was not unlike what he felt as a young boy with a compass, because the calculations revealed that Mercury's orbit should shift by 43 arc seconds per century. Abraham Pais, Einstein's friend and biographer, described this as the most powerful emotional moment in Einstein's scientific life, perhaps in all of Einstein's life. Einstein himself confides in his friend Adrian Fokker that when the calculations agreed with the observations of Mercury, Einstein said he got palpitations of the heart. But Einstein told his colleague Van der Haas is perhaps even more revealing. Einstein said that when his calculations explained the observations, he said that he could feel something snap inside him. Nature had spoken to him. It's now Thursday, November 18, 1915. Einstein is all set to lecture on these wondrous results on Mercury's orbit when that morning his triumphant mood shatters. He receives a paper from David Hilbert.
But the system you furnish agrees, as far as I can see, exactly with what I found the last few weeks and presented to the Academy. The difficulty was not in finding generally covariant equations, for this is easily achieved with Riemann's tensor.
Referring to equations that he had developed years earlier in the Zurich notebook.
We had distanced ourselves from those equations reluctantly because it seemed to me there was an incongruity with Newton's law. The important thing is these difficulties have now been overcome. Today, I am presenting to the Academy a paper in which I derive quantitatively out of general relativity without any guiding hypothesis the perihelion motion of Mercury. No gravitational theory has achieved this until now.
Cordial congratulations on conquering the perihelion motion. If I could calculate as rapidly as you, in my equations, the electron would have to capitulate, and the hydrogen atom would have to produce its note of apology as to why it does not radiate. Please keep me up to date on your latest advances.
The conciliatory response may have momentarily eased Einstein's growing anxiety, but what he did not yet know is that on the very next day, Saturday, November 20th, Hilbert submits his paper for publication, apparently laying claim to his version of the general theory of relativity. The title of Hilbert's paper was appropriately subdued. Unaware of this, but feeling the mounting pressure, Einstein gives his lecture on Mercury's orbit and then turns to sprint for the goal that he's been chasing for nearly a decade. But from almost every corner of his life, Einstein is under assault.
Papa. Wo bist du, Papa? Albert. Wo bist du, Vater?
Wir brauchen Geld.
Albert!
Wo bist du, Vater?
Albert.
Sie liegen falsch.
Papa.
Vater.
Albert!
Werden Sie meine Arbeit lesen?
Panik, willkommen! Albert! Ich vermisse Sie!
Papa. Albert.
Wo bist du, Albert?
Albert!
Albert.
Somehow, amidst the chaos, Einstein undertakes a final flurry of geometrical gymnastics and coaxes the field equations to fall fully and firmly into place.